1630 KCJJ. It is 12 o'clock, which means it's time for Rex Brandstatter Senior Talk, and that's brought to you by the Solon American Legion, Senior Benefits, and Walden Place Senior Living. Hello, Rex.
Hello there, Molly. Thank you so much on this, I was going to say bright, cheery day, but what wasn't I thinking about that? It's a pleasure to be here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me on Senior Talk today on this iffy day. My mom used to call this as an iffy day, and it's February, so that's the whole reason it's iffy, because it's February here in Iowa. So we'll have to do what we have to do, and that is we have to take it in the shorts on whatever comes to us outside. That's what we have to do. And today, it looks like ice and maybe some snowish. Not much, but it doesn't take much ice to give us trouble. And as seniors, we do have troubles with ice. You fall down, a little osteoporosis on most of us as you get older, and we end up with a few issues. So just be careful. Well, listen, greetings to you and welcome to Senior Talk. It's a great day to be here with you on my behalf, and such a great day to be a senior in my world. I hope yours too. Hello, and thank each one of you for taking time out of your busy senior day to listen to Senior Talk, and not only just seniors, but senior wannabes and senior gonna-bees, things like that. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. I do my best to bring a lot of ideas every week, and today especially, that might cover important aspects of being or becoming a senior, and that could be someone, if you're 42 or 37 years old listening, makes no difference. Sometimes you might pick up something that'll help you, maybe help your family, your friends, some relatives. You might just pick up an idea that cause you to start thinking about doing something or this or that, whatever it may be. I'll also see if I can't come up with some senior thoughts and some senior memories on occasion and see how that works on, because, we seniors, we like to remember things from long ago. That's kind of what we do best anymore. So my name is Rex Brandstatter. I'm 75 years old, and I'm a real estate broker, and I live and work mostly in Iowa City, Coralville, and Johnson County area, and mostly with seniors. Not always, but mostly seniors. That's my preferred group. So if you'd like to talk real estate, you can give me a call. As a senior, you might have plans, whether they're out in public to you, between you and your families or not, I don't know. That's your business. But at some point, you would have a plan to retire or to move on or relocate. You should know what your property is worth, what your home is worth. That's where I could come in. If you have a duplex or a 12-plex, you no longer want to mess with the tenants, and God, that gets old, doesn't it? You no longer want to do that. Feel free to give me a call. We can sit down with no cost to you, and except maybe if you have me come over, I'll charge you a Diet Coke or something. How's that sound? And we just talk about what your needs are upcoming, whether they're today or even a couple of years down the road. We could talk about some things that might help you in your planning. You should all know the value of your properties and things like that. So give me a call. I have a senior line for you. That's 319-330-5534. 330-5534. And I'll get right to you, and hopefully I'll answer. If not, I'll get right to you. And we could meet at your home, at a coffee shop. My office makes no difference. I meet people all the time. We talk just what we're talking about when we talk about all those things. Maybe it's time to get a smaller house. Maybe it's time to move across town, whatever it might be. Maybe we move to Florida. Who wouldn't want to move to Florida today? That'd be a good day to go. So just give me a call. Well, grab yourself a sandwich and a nice cold root beer, and let's see what we can't cook up here today. I was going to say good news, the weather's not so bad, because we did get accomplished one of our senior goals here. We got rid of January, and we marched right into February, which is no cup of tea. We all know that. But we're doing our best to march through January or February. Now, a week from today, we'll be almost halfway through, because it's a short month. So you see, we're on a freight train, folks. We're marching towards spring, that's for sure. With no help from that stupid groundhog. We don't care about him anyhow. Well, I just want to warn you with this ice. Be very careful, because as I said at the top of the show there, that when seniors fall down or bite the dust, so to speak, it can lead to some real issues, and broken bones mend slower. Broken bones can be a real cause of real lifestyle change in the whole family. We're going to talk more about that in a little bit. So just be careful. And as you all know, it doesn't take much to fall down in this stupid ice. So we just watch it, really, totally watch it. That's for sure. Whether there's ice or not, sometimes we have a problem, but especially on ice, just be careful for yourself. All right. Well, it was such a nice event last Sunday. I was not there, but for Caitlin Clark, and her jersey now hangs in the rafters forever. And I actually am predicting a larger. I am predicting right here on our stage, a larger than life statue will one day be either inside or outside Carver Arena. And I'm talking about I want the university to consider one the size of the Niall Kinnick statue. Now, that's larger than life. He sits up on a big pedestal over there. If you go over there on the south side of the stadium, Kinnick Stadium, of course, you can see that. You should go over there on a non-game day sometime and walk over there and read all the inscriptions and just stand there and marvel how large and how beautiful that thing is. That's what I foresee for Caitlin Clark. Now, I don't know. Usually they're going to let some time go by. They just did the jersey thing. But I'm saying in the next 5 to 7 years, she's going to make such even larger, if this is possible, even larger imprint on women's sports, basketball, women's sports, top to bottom, that I think the statue will be well in line. And we were talking to some guys the other day, and they said, oh, okay, where are we going to get the money for that? Well, I would just flat say that at the university today, and they're not going to, but it just said today, if we had the money, we'd put a statue up with Caitlin Clark. I'll bet it'd take within an hour, they could raise $100,000, and I don't even know how much those things cost. So, but that's truly where it's at. Truly where it's at. And she's well worthy of a commemorative statue, in my opinion, anyhow, to commemorate her role here and what she has done and is currently doing for women's sports. And I mean, from grade school kids, boys and girls, want to emulate Caitlin Clark. That's a fact. So she's cast a huge net over all of us. So good luck to her. So, when I was a kid playing sandlot football, a lot of you did. We even had some of the neighborhood girls who would play. They always played softball or wiffle ball with us constantly, and sometimes we tried to draft them to get to play football so we'd have enough, if you will, enough guys to play anything. But we all, back in those days, in the 50s, we always emulated Johnny Unitas. Always wanted to be Johnny Unitas or Crazy Legs Hirsch. Remember him? Crazy Legs Hirsch played for the Rams. Or George Blanda or Y.A. Tittle. All of those things. And today, young girls playing basketball all over, everywhere, state of Washington to Florida to Texas to Alabama to Maine, they want to be Caitlin Clark. And it's all over the United States and even beyond. So when you talk about a statue, she truly has already has the base laid, we'll call it, for that statue for sure. And no one would be surprised. Nobody would be surprised if that became reality for sure. Well, there's a lot going on with seniors, and I don't want. This is just my opinion. Everything here is my opinion, just about. But don't get too excited about these prices going up or down as yet, as we have a new president. They're working on a lot of things, whether the prices go up or the prices go down, or interest rates go down. There needs to be a settling of the market and a settling of issues and things like that, and it will take time. For sure. I don't know how much time. I wish I did. The price of eggs going up is not the end of the world. The price of guacamole going up is not, when's the last time you bought one? For the most part, and not the end of the world. So we're just going to have to sift onto things here and see what happens. We've been at this, folks, for 250 years, and we're doing fine. So, all right. Well, I was going to talk about some senior things here now, and I think these are important. And they might apply to you, but they might apply to you in the future. Hopefully not the near future, but let's just see. Well, I was talking to a friend of mine about his mother-in-law and her health issues. And she's been in the hospital for weeks. She's in her late 70s and overweight most of her life, a smoker. So two things not good. Not going well, he said. She's good one day and not good the next day. Doctors say time is needed, one way or the other. But he said, now get this, after he talked about the health of mother-in-law, he said, the big issue are my siblings. All of a sudden, they want to take control of decisions for a mother-in-law on about everything. Where she should end up, whether she sell or not sell her house, whether it's a home care or assisted living or she should be on her own. It's all up in the air because she's still in the hospital. And they have become what I would call, he said, a pain in the butt, and I'm the only one living around here and the only one who actually has been overseeing her health and day-to-day deportment for years. I'm the power of attorney, and in the event something happens, I'm also the executor. I assume I can make all those decisions. Is that right, Rex? And I said, well, I'm not the attorney, but if you have the signed documents, read those documents, and you will find that a lot of times on a power of attorney, there's a trigger, what they call a trigger clause, a trigger paragraph, that says your job, your role as a power of attorney can take place if, and in that paragraph will be if this, or that, or upon this, or that. And usually one of them is a letter from the doctor, from her doctor's staff, from the hospital, from the doctor, about Mrs. Smith can no longer make decisions on a daily basis. Or we prefer that Mrs. Smith not be subject to making business decisions, home decisions, things like that, signed by the doctor. That is usually the trigger. So I advise them, don't go about doing this and doing that until you read your power of attorney documents to see if you have met the criteria for the trigger, because you don't want to get yourself in hot water. He said, oh, I wasn't aware of that. She just told me I'm power of attorney. And I said, well, good. Number one, get a copy of the document. You should have that in your possession and start yourself a file, a little notebook that shows all these things you've gotten in there. This would be number one. And then I want you to read that trigger on there for sure. It's clear. It's clear on there on what it is. So that's what they're going to do. So I said, see your attorney for clarification, or see her attorney, whoever drew it up. Good luck. Now, when I said good luck, I was sort of referring to the siblings, because that's an in-family type squabble. No attorney wants to listen to that stuff. That's between the family, and that's why I said good luck. He said to me, he says, I also advise, he has two siblings. He says, I also advise one of them that, get this, no more monthly checks will come from mom's account to support you. No. I said, that's World War III. He goes, well, we find out that we looked at the checkbook that mom's been cutting checks to this sibling for quite some time, years, because he or she, I don't know, I didn't press the issue, won't work, doesn't work, can't work. It's not can't, it's won't. So he's going to cut off the gravy train here, as anybody else would do, I guess. So that's what you get into on things like this, and it's no fun. If you've been there, if you're in the middle of this, it tears up families, and everybody's got an opinion and things like that. But guess what? If mom took the time to have a POA and appointed this person, my friend, to be the power of attorney, then mom did that on her own free will. There you go. All right. A senior lady advises this. My husband and I are thinking of setting up a foundation or a financial entity to help young people get money for post-high school education. What do we do and where do we get started? And I said, wonderful idea and great thought for you. Outstanding. These folks want to share a little bit of what they have garnered in the world, meaning some money is what they told me. And they have they know the target audience that they want to do. So here's what I said to them. Congratulations, good thought, good idea. What a way to run an operation for sure. I assume you could contact your old high school and work with them to offer scholarships to kids who might move on to college or a trade school or community college. I said that would be a place to start. I know several people right here in Iowa City who have done that. They go to their local high school or wherever they're from or wherever their high school is, and they set up something. They get with the high school attorney for the high school or with their attorney here in town and do all the work here in town and then go sit down with the guidance counselors at their old high school and say, guess what, we want to make I'm going to pick a number here, $1,000 a year and a $1,000 a year scholarship every year, $1,000 and a $500 year scholarship to a person who graduates from this high school to go do this or that based on, and whatever you want to base it on, grades or academic financial need, all those type of things. And I said you could go, if you graduate from the university, you could do that go to your University of Iowa's always, if you're alum, they're always sending you stuff on this for planning, for sure. So I thought that was a great idea and good for them. So I think that's gave them some pretty good ideas. Now they could go to the high school, and the high school can say, sure, we can distribute those. So then the secret in that pudding there, in that big bowl of soup there is they've got to go somewhere and get that set up legally. It has to be legal. And part of that is usually they won't set something like that up unless they have, we'll say, several years in the pot. Okay, so let's say those folks wanted to set up $1,000 a year and a $500, so that's $1,500 a year. That school may say, look, we need 7 years worth in the barrel, or we need $10,000 in the barrel. And I don't know who's going to manage it, blah, blah, blah. Those are things you all have to set up. But the bottom line is this is just a great idea, and think of those kids. Now, I've been at some not so many graduations, but I've been to a lot of assemblies at school, like the last day or next to the last day at several high schools here in Iowa City, handing out some scholarships from local groups who have asked me to represent them and go make a little short talk about the scholarship, and then the school announces the winner. It's a wonderful, rewarding type thing. So my thumbs up for those seniors who thought about that. Now, if you're thinking about that, you can take that little 2 cents worth that I just spewed out there, and you could call your high school. Let's say you want to give it to someone from your high school, and just call them up and talk to a guidance counselor or talk to the principal, or whoever they in charge of something like that, and see if they're in the market for that before you do a bunch of homework. See if they're in the market to do that, or how do they handle it. They might have rules of the road for that. So good for them. Good for them. I think that's great. A senior man is telling me this. He says, I'm ready to part with my shop tools. I have a lot of cool stuff, is what he said. My woodworking tools are top-notch and were very expensive. And he says, I don't want to do this, but I have some issues. I can no longer work in my shop and feel good about it, that I'm doing good work, and I just can't do it anymore. He said, is there a market? And I said, yes, there is a market, but you will have to explore it. So he said, well, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, the first thing you need to do is you need to come to the realization that you want to sell these shop tools. And he says, I said, like what? And he said, I have what he calls hanging tools, when you can hang on a bulletin board, a pegboard type of thing. So that'd be A to Z, anything you can hang up there. He said, then I have table saws and routers and planers and all kinds of things. He said, I've got a real shop. He said, I just don't know, but he said, not many people of my friends even know I like woodworking. But he said, I've made all kinds of stuff in my house and for our family. He said, I've been doing it since I took shop in high school. Well, good for him. Wonderful, wonderful deal. I said, yes, but you will have to explore it. I said, here's what I mean. First of all, before you go out on the market and say you've got a bunch of shop tools like you did to me, which is a place to start, of course, for some little advice, but I said, I think you need to take an inventory. Take an inventory of what you mean by when you say you've got some shop tools. And I think you need to type that up, and when I say type it up, that's old school, I guess, but put it on your computer, and if you type up a brief or a brochure type of thing, or at least 3 or 4 or 5 pages of whatever you have. And then I said, I want you to quantify that, meaning what do you think it's worth? Just off the top of your head. If you want to put down what you paid for all that stuff, just take a ballpark guess and start there. So at least now you've quantified what you have and the value of what you have. Now, in the shop tool business, they bring pretty strong. There's a really, really good market for them. The market, however, might be not your buddies coming over to look at it, but that's the place to start. Once you know what you have and the value of it, you could ask some of your friends if they know anybody who might be in the market to buy some shop tools, some real shop tools, because your goal on this thing would be, more than likely, the number one goal usually is to sell the whole bunch of them all at once. Now, that's the plan. Somebody may say, hey, my brother-in-law is looking for a planer, or he wants a table saw. You could sell that, and maybe somebody else would buy all the other things, but it's a little cleaner if you sell the whole thing, as long as you can get a value that's important to you. So I said, then you could call an online auction guy around here somewhere, have them come and take a look at them and see, because online auctions are a pretty slick way to do business, and see what their opinion is of what you have and its marketability. So you're kind of you're gonna sell this your collection, your shop tools once. So your goal would be, if you're normal, which I'm sure he is, you're going to get the most money, we'll say, but also you're going to want to have a say in where those things go. And that's very important too. I know you'd like to, off the top of my head, I bet he wants it to go somewhere. Some young guy will say who wants to have a shop tool or running a business, needs to buy a bunch of tools and get started with, and maybe he makes that kid, you'll call him a kid, a young guy, a better deal. Those are all at your beck and call because you are in charge, because you own the shop tools. So good for him. I said make a written inventory of tools and equipment that would be included. And yes, those things are very much in demand. I said, I assume they're all in good shape. And he kind of rolled his eyes. He said, my wife said, I pay more attention to my shop tools than do to her. So they must be in pretty darn good shape. All right, that's the deal. Good luck to him. Maybe he'll call me back after. He was going to work on that, doing all that things that I suggested and some other ideas he had this winter. And it's winter, folks. It's winter for sure. Well, a senior man advises that his brother passed away about a year ago. I said, I'm sorry. He said, yep, thank you. He said, he sure left a mess. He said, Mom died several years ago, and Dad had a new friend. So when we went through my brother's papers, we found an insurance policy for $125,000. And Dad's new friend was the sole beneficiary. What? I said, what? Yeah. He said, that's the problem with what's going on here. He says, my brother passed away, so I just got done dealing with him. And he left me a legal mess. I'm the power of attorney, or no, excuse me, I'm the executor, so I'm working with that. He said, then Dad announced that he has a new friend, and then my dad passed away. And we went through his papers. We found an insurance policy for $125,000 with this new friend, lady friend, being the sole beneficiary. She got the money, and I got the bill for the funeral. And I said, thanks, Dad. I said, guess what? He said, I don't think that was really the way it was supposed to be. And I said, well, your dad had the opportunity to change the beneficiary. So one of my questions to you folks today is this going to happen to you? Could this happen to you? Have you changed the beneficiary? You have a new friend in life, and that's all fine. Who cares about that? That's great. If it works for you, it works for you. Who cares about anybody else? But do you have the opportunity? You have the opportunity to make sure that your money, your insurance money, or your things like that go to the person you want it to go to. Now, in this case, he had a new friend, and he made her the beneficiary. So, in my opinion, he wanted it to go to her. Okay, so I'm not going to say that's pretty clear cut, but he bought the policy, or he had it when Mom was still alive, and he changed her name off it and put his new friend on. So with the intent, I think he had intent there to do exactly what he said he was going to do, or what he wanted to do. So I don't think you can question all you want, but I know what this gentleman is thinking is it should have gone to the family. And he wasn't sitting there saying, I should have got the money, that should have been mine. He wasn't coming from that angle. He just said, I'm not sure that's really what it was all designed to be, even in Dad's mind. And then I said, well, I went through that scenario where if he had it when your mom was alive, he had to go change it. And if he went down and bought a new one, he had to put her name on it. So I said, I think your dad did exactly what he wanted to do. So I bring this up to you today. How about you? Do you have a new person in your life that could make changes if there was a will to be read if something happened to you? Have you made changes in your will to maybe go to a different person or a different parties now that someone else is no longer in your life? You have insurance policies. Do you want to change beneficiaries? You have a new person in your life, and you'd like to make sure they don't get it. Make sure they do get it. Whatever you want, you should really, really take the time before if you will, before it hits the fan, on how to handle these things. This is, folks, I'm telling you, this is why they invented lawyers for things like this. And this really isn't a thing for a lawyer. This is here's the policy. It's got Jane Jones's name on it, and apparently this guy said it should have said him and his other family member on it. Well, it didn't happen. So it didn't happen, but we could maybe solve some of those issues from happening. I have several stories about personal friends who this happened to, and it didn't work out the way that anybody thought would happen. A couple cases it was a will, and a couple farms were involved. It's a big deal. These are big issues. So just be aware. That's what you need to do. You need to kind of do something there. So. Well, our furnaces at our house have been, and some property's been running a lot lately, and since about early December. So I say change your filter right away. And boy, there's a long-time listener called me last week, and he said, here's what he said. Why can't they make only 2 or 3 sizes of furnace filters? Yeah. He said, there's about 1 million different sizes, and every time I go to buy one, he says, I can't remember what I've got. And I said, well, write it down, go down to your furnace and pull it out, and on the side of it, it'll say 16 by 20 or 20 by 22. It's right there in front of you. I said, do what I do. I can't remember it half the time either. I don't even try. I just go down and I pull out a furnace filter and I take a picture of it with my phone so I can see the dimensions of it, what it looks like, and then I go to Lowe's or I go to Menards or I call the furnace guy and go pick it up at his shop. What size do you need? First thing, what size do you need? That's all they say. What size do you need? So if you don't know, you'll get the wrong one. You come home and be too big or too small. But the bottom line on this thing is your furnaces have boy, don't you just feel great if you're sitting there and it's kind of nippy and that furnace kicks on, and you have to say to yourself, thank God our furnace kicked on. Well, I hope you had it checked last fall so it would kick on. For sure. And those things are working, and all so much air in your house has been all kind of cooped up. Your furnace needs a little attention. So I want you to do that. I want you to go downstairs and basically wherever, if you have a furnace on the main level, go pull that thing out, take a look at it. Big arrow on which way it should be installed, for God's sakes. It's a pretty simple deal. If you need a furnace checkup guy, get in, call your friends or give me a call. I'll give you a couple names. You can call your buddies where you go. Ladies, you too. I don't know how to do that, or maybe you do know that's your business. More power to you. It just applies to everybody with the furnace, which would be everybody for sure. All right. Go to it. Don't delay. Let that furnace be rewarded, which truly with the new furnace filter. A senior friend advises this. We spent the month of January in Texas, and we went down quite a ways, and we were on the Gulf of whatever it's called these days. And she said we were treated to colder than normal weather, cold/chilly winds, 6 or 7 inches of snow, frozen bays of water, frozen pipes. Oh, what fun. And my wife and I, we kind of laughed, and we're laughing with them, not at them for sure, well, maybe. We advised it was warmer here with less snow here, and they are from here. And they told us what to do, what we could do. I can't repeat it here. So, folks, January is no cup of tea just about anywhere in the United States. So, they sent back some pictures of, honest to God, palm trees up in the air. Yep, good old palm trees, and palm trees only grow where it's pretty darn tropical, pretty darn nice. And on the ground there were 6 or 7 inches of snow. Now, the snow was gone 2 days later, and we all could figure that out. But just the fact that they had to deal with that after all this big time going down south, so it is what it is. But wish that wouldn't have happened to us. So, all right. See if you're with me on this one. This got me. This news came out this week. This has been the oldest news story, the oldest report, the oldest study in the history of railroad studies. The decades-long, expensive study to determine if commuter rail line from Iowa City to Cedar Rapids and reverse would be doable. Money-wise, logistic-wise, user-wise, all of those things taken into account. And this group or groups from Iowa City and communities in eastern Iowa have determined that this could work and could be a positive, whether it's they've kind of determined that it would be a battery or electric battery operated type of thing rather than a steam engine. Listen to me, steam locomotive type of thing. Like that's the new way, solar type of deal. So they go to all these things, and the state of Iowa and they had Eastern Iowa government funded it, and I think the university was in on the funding and things like that. And they came back. They've come back many times over the years since I've been watching this. That this doesn't seem to be a profitable thing to offer daily rides. It would be more along the lines of a commuter thing for the university, maybe to start at North Liberty, and the university would have people park in North Liberty and then get over to the tracks over there, the Crandig tracks and things like that. And recently, a contingent went from Iowa City to somewhere in Pennsylvania because they have this, and this group from Iowa City area, greater Iowa City area. And folks, they've all done this with good, positive things in mind for commuters and the communities. No question about that. I'm not questioning that. And they came back, it's going to cost a lot of money. Here's some of the costs, and we think we can start. We can use the Crandig tracks, blah, blah, blah. And I read that, and I went, what? Well, this week there was a nice little business blurb in a newspaper that says, the Crandig says we're not going to let you use our tracks. So after all that, predicated on having a rail line, the Crandig, who owns the tracks, says, we're not going to allow you to use our tracks. I was thinking, in my small brain, they should have called the Crandig first. Before going to all that work and all that effort and all those plans and all those consultants, whatever I'm going to do, I would think that would have been first on the list. It's just me. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm the only one who thought like that. But it's kind of like got all done, and you get to the airport, and guess what? That plane that quit flying there 10 years ago. There's no reason for that. So the Crandig ran the commuter trains, rail from 1903 to 1953, 50 years of service to Cedar Rapids to Iowa City, from Iowa City to Cedar Rapids. Honest to God, it was a going deal until after World War II, when cars became a bigger deal, and people started moving away from tracks into subdivisions and things like that. So at the end game, at the bottom of the ninth, 2 out, or maybe the top of the ninth, I don't know what inning they thought they were in, but they said, nope, can't use our track. So now I know it's probably had to file it somewhere, and we'll see what happens. Now maybe it's all in business. Maybe that's all posturing by the Crandig. Maybe they were playing that card to see what was in it for them. All these things make sense, but it's all because of people wanting to have this. Probably not unrealistic. I don't know that's all unrealistic. We'll see. But maybe it's just posturing by the Crandig, and I wouldn't blame them if it was. All right. Well, the annual U-Haul, the people who rent trailers and trucks, survey of moving as per people who rent their trucks and trailers is out. And here it is. And you see if this stuff, the state with the most people leaving, number 6 is New York. Get out of New York and their god-awful taxes. And if you've ever been to New York City, it is what it is. To me, it's a one and done. Been there a couple of times, but I don't want to live there. More power to them. Number 6 is New York. Number 5 is Massachusetts. Massachusetts has a hugely population, and they love to pay taxes, and the state of Massachusetts loves to levy taxes. Number on real estate, income taxes, sales tax, all the above. Number 4 is Illinois. What can we say about our good neighbors, Illinois? They're so far in debt they can't see straight because of all their spending and their taxes, all their crazy governor over there. Number 3 is New Jersey. New Jersey is the same boat as all these other tax. Michigan is number 2, and Michigan is kind of going their own way with taxes and ideas and governmental rules and regulations, and the people of Michigan have had it. And number 1, the state that lost the most people, hundreds of thousands, is California. And so many people leaving California that they're going to other states. Other states are starting to pass rules. It says that we don't want any Californication, I said. only Californication of our states. We're not going to enact this, enact that, blah, blah, blah. So that's how many people are leaving California. That's where people are leaving from. You can take all that into account if you're thinking about moving there. Or there are probably more people leaving than are going to move in. The states with the most people arriving. The states with the most people showing up. Number 5 is you're going to see a little bit of a trend here. Number 5 is Tennessee. Beautiful state down there. Number 4, South Carolina, the Palmetto State. Been to South Carolina. If you're in a city, fine. If you're out in the country, wow, it is out in the country. I'll tell you. Number 3, North Carolina. Same thing. North Carolina is quite a destination. North Carolina, I'm thinking next year might be 2 or 1. North Carolina has a lot of neat stuff. It's a beautiful state. A lot of big cities there. A lot of high tech stuff there. Pretty reasonable weather. I don't know what the weather is today or anything like that, but overall they have pretty reasonable weather. Number 2 is Florida. That's a perennial thing for Florida to be up there. Quite frankly, I thought it might be number 1. But the number 1 state where people are showing up, moving to, is Texas. And Texas is a large state, as you know, and you could be in Dallas, Texas, and it's a 2-day drive down to Brownsville. It's a 3-day horse ride across that state. It is huge. And if you go from El Paso and you come back to the eastern shore, that's a hugely long distance. If you've ever driven that or been down there, it is wide open country, folks. And if you're out in Texas in big cities, you got it made. If you're out in the country, you are out in the country. But among all those destinations, the top 2 destinations, Florida and Texas and all that, there was no Arizona. Arizona has sort of peaked and kind of dropped down. They're in the top 10, but they've dropped out. Well, there's a group of people out there. It might be you. It might be in your family, but there's a group of people out there. You know who you are. And there's a group of people out there who are not subjected to this as yet, but you could be. So this is sort of first of all, if you are a caretaker for a loved one or a family member, a friend who you're your official caretaker, my salute to you, and my heart is out to you, and my thumbs are up to you, because it's an endeavor, especially if it's a spouse. All of a sudden, things are going fine, things are going wonderful. You and your spouse have a family, or just the two of you now, or you're at home there, and all of a sudden some sort of a medical change, some kind of a health issue, and kaboom, you are a healthcare worker. You are taking care of. You are doing A to Z, top to bottom. Some jobs you don't even want to repeat, but that's what it is. So we all know that things like this could happen. We could be a traffic accident this afternoon. There could be a heart attack, a stroke, some kind of a debilitating type of thing, which renders a spouse or your other someone in the family, a friend, incapacitated. And the first thing, if you go to the hospital, you go to the doctor, they're going to ask you if you have power of attorney. First thing out of their mouth. So I'm suggesting you, right now today, everybody in your house is doing fine. You should go down. I'm going to just call this a husband, wife, or husband, another, wife and husband, wife, another. Go down and to your fellow or friendly attorney and have him, her, draw up power of attorney papers. So you do that now rather than wait until someone is under duress. And once that starts, and you are the caretaker, folks, it is a job. It is a real job. So much of a job that the IRS has made a rule that you can deduct expenses, and you can go online. Well, you're not going to deduct expenses because you're taking care of your wife. I totally understand that. But pretty soon, you're spending a lot of gas to go get meds. You're spending a lot of gas to go get this or that. You're spending extra money for this, that. I do know what they are. They're not exorbitant, but they've made arrangements for that. So, folks, that's what I want you to consider. Well, everything's fine, Rex. We're doing just fine. Well, good. Well, how about if there's a traffic accident this afternoon and your wife is in dire straits? Kaboom, it happens like that. How about if there's an illness or an affliction in your family and it's a long-term downhill slide? Why don't you get started on these things now? These things are terrible to think about, terrible to talk about, but these things happen. So, I'm assuming that you have your important papers in a fireproof box or safe. I assume you know the details of the insurance coverage on your car, in your home, your condos, and your boat. I assume you're up to date on your renewal dates for your driver's license, huh? Better get your driver's license out. You better be getting a real ID. We'll talk about that. And I know you're on top of all those things, aren't you? I hope so. So keep the faith as a senior and keep going, stay strong, and don't go out on that ice for sure. And remember our motto here, do all you can while you can. This is Rex Brandstatter from Senior Talk saying thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. So long.
We could all use a little getaway, a little relaxing stay. And while we're at it, some free play would be okay.